The crowd was still cheering Bagnaia's flawless Motegi victory at the 2025 MotoGP Championship when he dropped a bombshell, and it shocked the MotoGP world to its core. Very few realized that behind the celebration, something far deeper was unfolding. After months of frustration and technical dead ends, Bagnaia arrived at Motegi, carrying the weight of a season that nearly had broken him. Ducati's engineers had thrown everything at the GP25's unpredictable front end. Geometry tweaks, setup changes, endless data runs, and yet the magic had never seemed to return. Critics whispered that his confidence was gone, that Márquez's relentless form had shattered him. But that weekend in Japan, the old precision was back. His braking was razor sharp, his corner entry effortless, his rhythm unmistakable. Every lap felt like a message to those who had already ridden him off. When the checkered flag fell, Ducati's pit wall erupted with a release of months of tension and doubt. Bagnaia's calm wave to the crowd said everything. He wasn't celebrating, he was reclaiming something that had slipped away. Yet as the cameras followed him to the media room, that composure began to crack, with what he said next would change how everyone saw his season. But the truth beneath that perfect victory lap was far from simple. Behind the helmet, Bagnaia had been waging a private war. For months, the GP25's unpredictable front end had stripped him of trust, making every braking zone a gamble, every corner a question mark. He later admitted that at times, the bike felt like a different machine every weekend. Ducati's new aero package had improved downforce, but also amplified front-end load sensitivity. It demanded aggression, not precision, but a style that clashed with Bagnaia's smoother, calculated approach. The result was constant instability, especially under braking, where he'd once been untouchable. Each near crash left a mark, not just physically but mentally. He'd go home replaying laps in his head, searching for errors that didn't exist. His crew noticed the silence growing in the garage, way less talk and more staring at data screens. From the outside, he looked composed. Inside, he was running out of answers. Even in victory at Motegi, his wrists ached and his eyes betrayed exhaustion. What looked like dominance had been held together by sheer willpower and a body running on nerves. Finally, then he sat down behind the microphones, and the tone shifted instantly. There was no smile, no celebration, just a quiet exhale before he spoke. "I have to be honest," he began, eyes fixed on the table. "This win doesn't fix everything. I've been lost for a long time." The room fell silent. It wasn't the usual post-race adrenaline. It was a man unburdening months of pressure. He admitted that throughout the season, he doubted himself more than ever before. "I didn't recognize my riding anymore. I was fighting the bike, not the race." And this was the kind of confession no champion usually makes. It was raw, self-critical, and painfully real. Journalists exchanged glances. Even Ducati's staff looked stunned. This wasn't the narrative they'd prepared for. Bagnaia wasn't talking about rivals or setups this time. Oh no, he was talking about his own identity. "When you start to question who you are as a rider," he said quietly, "you lose everything." For a two-time world champion, that sentence hit harder than any crash. It turned his victory into something else entirely, a glimpse of how close he'd come to breaking. And behind his words lay a problem Ducati has been quietly wrestling with. The GP25 represented a bold evolution of sharper aerodynamics, tighter weight balance, and a revamped electronic mapping philosophy designed around front-end load control. On paper, it was faster. In reality, it favored aggression over finesse. Engineers noticed early that Márquez adapted instantly, using the front like a weapon, while Bagnaia's smoother entries exposed the setup's fragility. The asymmetric tire allocation at several circuits only magnified the issue, causing unpredictable grip loss mid-corner. Ducati tried everything: offset forks, revised anti-squat settings, even reprogramming the torque delivery to calm the bike under braking. Nothing brought back his trademark stability. Every change made one thing better and another thing worse, one engineer admitted. The factory's internal debate grew louder. Do they evolve toward Márquez's style or restore Bagnaia's? With the engine freeze limiting development, options were scarce. What Bagnaia was feeling wasn't imagined. It was structural. And at Motegi, his confession made that clear to the world. Ducati hadn't just built a rocket, they'd built a machine that divided its own riders. What unfolded on race day was more than just technical redemption. From the moment the lights went out, Bagnaia looked transformed. His braking zones that were once tentative and scattered were now back to razor-edge precision, and every corner entry showed renewed confidence, the bike holding steady where it had once twitched and folded. Ducati's engineers had made subtle overnight changes, a revised rear ride height, slightly more like a return to familiarity. Lap after lap, he built a rhythm that silenced any and all doubt. Márquez tried to pressure him early, but Bagnaia's composure never cracked. Even when the front tire began fading near the closing stages, he controlled the slide instead of fighting it. Watching from the pit wall, Gigi Dall'Igna and his crew barely spoke, but there definitely were nods of quiet relief. For the first time in months, the GP25 looked tamed. When Bagnaia crossed the line, it was some much more than a victory. It was proof that he'd found balance again between fear and control. The moment his confession went public, Ducati's celebration turned uneasy. What was meant to be a triumphant Sunday became a quiet storm inside the paddock. Reporters relayed his quotes on every broadcast, dissecting what he really meant by losing myself. Some saw honesty, others saw a veiled criticism of Ducati's technical direction. In the garage, tension replaced champagne. Engineers who'd spent the season defending the GP25's design now faced questions about whether they'd backed the wrong philosophy. Even Gigi Dall'Igna, who is usually composed, appeared visibly concerned when asked if Bagnaia's comments reflected internal disagreement. Privately, team members admitted the confession caught them off guard. They knew about his struggles, but not the depth of his doubt. Rival teams, meanwhile, seized on the story. It sounds like Ducati is split between two riders, one insider told local media. Online forums lit up with speculations about fractures inside Bologna's strongest lineup in years. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The victory that was supposed to restore harmony had exposed how fragile it really was. And in the days that followed, every word from Bagnaia carried the weight of a team under scrutiny. But beyond the paddock noise, Bagnaia's words hinted at something larger ahead. His confession wasn't just about one season's frustration. It exposed the fragile balance between rider and machine that defines modern MotoGP. Ducati had built the fastest bike on the grid, but in doing so, they'd created a fork in the road. Márquez thrived on its aggression, while Bagnaia rediscovered control only by pulling it back toward stability. That contrast could shape Ducati's entire 2026 direction. Engineers now face a dilemma: evolve around the pure speed of Márquez's style, or protect the harmony that allows Bagnaia to ride at his peak. And beneath that lies the human side, like two champions pushing the same machine toward opposite philosophies. Bagnaia's honesty, once seen as vulnerability, may force Ducati to redefine what performance really means. The Motegi confession had already changed the tone in Bologna. It is no longer just about domination. As MotoGP edges into a new era, Bagnaia's voice has quietly reminded everyone that speed alone doesn't win championships. There needs to be understanding. Do you think Bagnaia's confession will reshape Ducati's future, or take it further?